Hello, and today we'll take the interview with the political activist from New York, Francisca Paul. And hello, Francisca.
Yes.
Francisca, how do you think? Is the today political, the policy of the government of the United States of America can be considered as some, monstrous, policy against the nation?
Against which nation?
Like American nation?
No, I think they're just misguided. They have theories that no longer work, that haven't worked, but, people have difficulty learning from past mistakes. And history repeats itself. And so we have people who are doctrinal Marxists in charge of the U.S. government who are applying theories that didn't work before and are not going to work now. The problem is basically that we have two separate visions of where we should be headed. One is a vision that emphasizes equality, and the other vision emphasizes an expansion or the rising of the standard of living and economics in a society. You can't have both at the same time. If you have equality, the only thing that equality achieves is that it disincentivizes people from being productive, and it disincentivizes people from being selfish, which is something that is necessary for people to act in their own interest. And that requires a higher level of liberty. And what we have now is a government that's trying to encroach on our liberties and control more and more of our individual abilities to pursue happiness, etc.
But won't be some sort of collapse or chaos in the country if you give too much liberties and freedoms to the people?
No, quite the contrary. The United States was more stable when more people in the United States had more and more liberty. This country was founded on the precept, which is different from every other country in the world. In Europe, for example, it is the state and government or the aristocracy that gave people whatever rights they had, minuscule as they were. But the United States, in the Declaration of Independence, is the only country in the world that was founded on the principle that we have natural rights, that the state doesn't give us our rights and our liberties.
And what do you consider natural rights?
Well, just exactly what it says in the Declaration, that we have the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And pursuit of happiness basically meant to attain wealth and property through our own labor and our own efforts, to better our lives or to raise our standard of living.
And do you think that America is becoming more and more like socialistic country, that, the process of socialization of America now is going up and up?
It is, to a very large extent. The problem is that you cannot be free without having the right to own yourself and to own the things that you produce. That's part of freedom and liberty. And when the state takes that away from you under the pretext that it's going to redistribute goods, then it limits your freedom. And you can't have a society where that works. There are people who are ugly, some people are handsome, some people are tall, some people are short, some people are overweight, some people are skinny. Nature is not about equality. Nature is about doing the best that we can with the things that nature gives us, or God gives us, or whichever.
So sorry for interruption. So according to your opinion, they completely should not be any process of socialization in the society and in the whole country.
The problem is that empirically throughout history, the nations that have allowed for greater freedom. Now, there are always going to be people in a society that can't take care of themselves through no fault of their own and what have you. And so society has, in essence, if we are civilized, or we hold to the Judeo-Christian principle that we need to help those who are amongst us who can't do so. But the problem is that when you begin to create a standardized system where we give out free goodies to everybody, people begin to take advantage of it. And it's not just the people who need it who take advantage of it, but everybody, up to the point where only a few people support the great mass of people who simply become lazy and don't produce for the society, and you see a collapse of the society. The problem is that the welfare state subsidizes poverty. And it subsidizes poverty by telling people, you know, you really don't have to strive to better yourself or to work hard. We're going to give you a check and you can stay home and do nothing. And the more people see that there are people staying home and not doing anything, why should I slave away, pay taxes, to give money to somebody? I might as well quit and go on the dole just like they are. But at some point you run out of people who are paying the bill. And that's exactly what's happening in our society.
Okay, so the last question is, how do you think, what like political and economical measures should be made, like to change something in the United States of America?
Well, it's not just in the United States of America. The problem is worldwide. It's happening everywhere. And part of the problem is that we have to get rid of the old left-wing, right-wing model. The real dichotomy is between those who are statists, who want more power for the state, which means less power for you as an individual, and those of us who believe in liberty and individual liberty. There are two visions. One is a vision that citizens are born with duties and obligations, and that's the statist view of the world. And then there is the vision that we are born with rights and responsibilities, and that's the vision of greater liberty. If you have rights and responsibilities, and you have freedom to be able to do many of the things that you need to do, then freedom and liberty and individual liberty is where we need to be headed. Unfortunately, we have Islamic movements, religious movements, political movements whose entire focus is to centralize power in the state, the church, or some other institution and collectivize everybody. And when you're part of a collective, your individuality is taken away. And without individuality, you cannot be creative. And creativity is what makes us human beings different from other creatures on the planet. So we need to maximize our creativity, and you can only do that by maximizing our liberty and our freedom, and getting governments and institutions, churches, and all these people out of the way.
And do you consider the U.S. as a secular country?
No. Ideologically or philosophically speaking, it's a Judeo-Christian country. It always has. The laws and the institutions are based upon that. But there's a difference between a general philosophical view of the world, in which we all share, because we have culturally, we've come from a Judeo-Christian tradition, into a government where religion dominates or what have you. There's a difference between our individual spirituality and organized religion, which has an interest which runs counter to secularism or the ability of people to practice that which they wish. And what we have now are religious movements, today mostly Islam, but you know, we had in the past fundamentalist Christians whose idea was that the state should impose their values and their system on the rest of us, who may not be in total agreement with it.
I understand. Thank you, Francisco, very much for your opinions, and we'll hope to see you soon. And I just wanted to mention that we had been with our political activist, Francisco Pijol, and thank you very much for your attention, and see you soon.